And so that leads us to the biggest news of today, the transfer portal. Oh, it was a lot. And I know people in the comments, I see multiple people be like, who do you think Tennessee goes after? Will Tennessee go after this? There's so many dudes in this transfer portal from so many different places with so many different skill sets. And I mean, your guess is as good as ours at this point, just because it's day of. I think the news will start to trickle out that this player is leaning towards X, this player is leaning towards X. That's going to come out more and more and more from the big recruiting guys that keep up with all of that and talk to those players and things like that. There just honestly hasn't been enough time quite yet. But Tennessee, so far, players from Tennessee's roster that have gone into the portal are all offensive, and this is interesting. So and for the most part, I would say none of this was all that surprising. Jimmy Holiday, Jimmy Callaway, two wide receivers. Going into the portal, they didn't really play, and I don't think that they had much of a spot going forward, unless they were maybe going to switch to defense or something, and I have no idea if that was ever talked about or anything like that. But they just probably didn't have spots, so they're leaving. Then you also have Justin Williams-Thomas, who is going, and who's running back. And that one, I wanted him to work out, but it seems like it's not gonna. He's kind of a more sizable back, a bigger back, and it just seems like he didn't have a spot either. Then the tight end, Miles. I don't have. Sorry,
Campbell.
Miles Campbell. I couldn't. Yeah, see too many names today, but Miles Campbell, tight end. He's transferring out also, and I feel like and Lyneth Whitehead, who was injured this season, running back for Tennessee, was injured this season, and he's going out also. Again, 3 guys in that running back room already. It just is getting crowded, and then I think there's a lot of talk that Tennessee might go after a running back in the portal. We'll have to see. Kind of the same way with the wide receivers. I think Tennessee is definitely going to go after a wide receiver in the portal this season. I don't want to say they would be foolish not to, but if you don't strike while the iron is as hot as it is right now, with some of the talent going into the portal, like that kid at Missouri, kid at Oregon, there was another one you texted to me out of Arizona, a wide receiver.
There's also a former or a current UCF wide receiver that signed under Josh Heupel there, Ryan O'Keefe. I think that's probably the one I would keep an eye on. He played 4 years there. What's interesting about him is if you look at his numbers, they haven't been just mind-blowing numbers. His best season was 2021, 84 receptions for 812 yards. But in 2020, that shortened season when he played with Heupel, 20 catches, 391 yards on 20 catches. That's 19 yards a catch. To me, that screams perfect fit for Tennessee's offense. Big chunk yardage type plays. That's what they do. You know, we saw that with Jalen Hyatt this year and Cedric Tillman before he was hurt. So if him and Heupel had a good relationship, which I'm assuming that they did since he signed there initially, perhaps that's somebody that they go after. Definitely think they go after a wide receiver. Like you said, though, with Tillman gone, Hyatt potentially leaving, you need bodies there. You'll have Ramel Keaton and Brew McCoy, but you still need more guys, especially depth from a depth perspective. I also think they'll go after a tight end. I mean, that's the only reason. All the players that you mentioned that left, none of them were surprises, except maybe Miles Campbell a little bit, just because that's a position of need for Tennessee moving forward with Princeton Fant moving on, Jacob Warren possibly moving on. I don't think he's made a final decision yet. The other guys, I mean, I think we predicted most of that. We suggested that Holiday and Callaway would probably be gone. Callaway, after that drop against Florida last year, he just never really factored back into the offense. And then he had the little dust up where he was suspended for a half after throwing a punch in the Akron game, I believe. Neither of those guys really ever found a role in the offense. And the running backs, if you're Justin Williams-Thomas, I think if he would have stayed, perhaps he would have eventually found a role in the offense. But if you've got Jabari Small, Jalen Wright, and Dylan Sampson next year already, you got the former Kentucky commit coming in. And if Tennessee looks around in the portal, I mean, the writing's on the wall. You want to play. I get it.
Yeah. And that's really where all of this is based for a bunch of these guys. They just want that playing time. And so I think where Tennessee can take advantage of that is maybe guys who are coming from an Alabama, Georgia. Somebody here says Walter Nolan from Texas A&M. Not that I think he would carve out a spot at Texas A&M. I mean, Lord knows he's a ultra 5-star player, but he's from Knoxville.
And you might want to get out of Jimbo's whatever's going on down there.
Maybe some just the guys that are in bad situations, like maybe a number of players at
also
Texas A&M.
Seen a lot of talk about Ra Thomas from Mississippi State. Seems like though Georgia kind of has the edge there. That's kind of been the feeling. But he is supposed to be visiting Tennessee later this month, so perhaps Josh Heupel, Mike Leach connection. That's where Heupel's roots are. Maybe he'd like to play in Tennessee's offense. I mean, I don't know why a wide receiver wouldn't want to play in Tennessee's offense.
Fall is in the air, and that means fall grilling with cookouts, tailgate parties, and so much more. Luckily, the flavor experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to savor all the flavors of fall with their mouthwatering assortments of perfectly aged steaks, ultra juicy burgers, and easy-to-prepare comfort meals that are ready in a flash. And now is the perfect time to load up on all this incredible flavor and take advantage of 50% off site-wide by shopping their Friends and Family sale. Go to omahasteaks.com and use my promo code VOLS, that is VOLS, at checkout and get $30 off your order. And guys, I've said it in these ads for weeks now. I've had all of the stuff from Omaha Steaks. I can't endorse it enough. Everything has been high quality. It comes right to your door, so easy and convenient, and I mean, most importantly, tasty. So I wouldn't say it if I didn't believe it. So don't wait. Go to omahasteaks.com and stock up today. Omaha Steaks isn't just steak. It's the best steak of your life, guaranteed. And don't forget to score that extra $30 off your order when you use VOLS at checkout, VOLS. Omaha Steaks is perfect for those chilly and busy fall nights. You won't come close to getting this kind of quality at the grocery store. Visit omahasteaks.com. Promo code VOLS at checkout. Minimum order may be required. Omaha Steaks. Yeah, I mean, if you're a wide receiver and you don't think you could put up massive numbers here, I don't know what you've been watching. And it's not even just that. Obviously, at this point, you have Heupel showing Wilson to the NFL. I mean, obviously he's done it already with guys, and then this season you're going to have Jalen being an NFL guy. You're going to have Tillman being an NFL guy. Like, the resume as far as wide receivers for Tennessee goes is shimmering at this point, and we're only 2 years into Heupel. So
it's not even just the Hyatt and Tillman guys either. I mean, the way Ramel Keaton came on and stepped up in Tillman's absence this year, to me, one of the most underrated players on Tennessee's roster this year. He stepped up every single time Tillman wasn't able to go, made some really key catches. I mean, he made one of those catches on that drive against Alabama to win the game. Hooker's first pass went to him, very clutch reception, the diving catch against Florida. I mean, he's made some big-time catches this year. So another underrated guy who really didn't – I mean, you forget that he's been at Tennessee. This was his third year. Didn't really do much that first year under Pruitt, or last year sitting behind Velus and Tillman and Javonte Payton and some of those guys, but got his chance and has played well this year. Absolutely.
And I think we all know that Tennessee's offense is an attractive landing spot for transfers, but Timothy Guilford says, I truly think a lot of defense will be coming to Tennessee because they all know they will get playing time. And then he also says, big fan of y'all. Thank you. We appreciate that. But absolutely, you go across the board on the defense here. Defensive line, linebacker, defensive backs, anywhere and everywhere. Just pick your spot outside of like Amari Thomas, Juwan Mitchell. Who's like an assured starter? None of the defensive backs this coming season. I don't think anybody is an assured starter next season. You look across.
Is Wesley Walker back next year? He wasn't like a graduate guy. I mean, I don't know why he didn't play earlier in the year, because he seemed like every time he played really well and felt like he probably should have been playing over some of those guys that were playing.
It did kind of seem that way. He plays, even if he's not the most skilled dude out there, he plays hard, and that's what I really liked seeing when he was in the game. But I think if you are Tennessee's defensive staff, what more do you have to say than come here and basically every spot's open? Like, there is a playing opportunity at every single position on this defense if you work hard. And surely that gets some kids here. I got to think, because there's pretty pretty solid set of specifically defensive backs coming in with this recruiting class. But they're, you see it this season. There's some promising young guys, but it just takes a while for young dudes to get used to the speed and the power of college football. It's just a different thing for an 18-year-old right out of high school to get a hard grip on. And so if you can get a good transfer in basically any of those spots, and I mean, at this point, I kind of said it earlier, y'all's guess is as good as ours as far as where they're headed with any of these. There's defensive players popping up from every single school across America. But I think Tennessee has a great selling point on that side of the ball. That's for sure.
Yeah, and Austin Stanley, who we had on the podcast last week, gave us a heads up that 24/7 Sports reporting that Tennessee's going to go after the Virginia cornerback that hit the portal, Fentrell Cypress. He led the ACC in pass breakups. I mean, definitely a guy that you'd like to have, 6 foot. And there's a slight Tennessee connection with him. He's from Rock Hill, South Carolina, went to Northwestern High School down there, the same high school as Cordero Patterson and Justin Worley that both played at Tennessee. So I'm sure he's familiar with those guys, being alumni of that high school, even though there's a big gap in their age. So that's a little interesting connection. And obviously he knows if he goes to Tennessee, he's going to see the field immediately and play a key role. And he's going to get a lot of attention put on him. I mean, Tennessee had Alontae Taylor getting nice NIL deals because he played well in 2021. He's seen offensive guys. Hendon Hooker seems like he's got a new NIL deal every day. Saw one for Dunkin' Donuts today. Jalen Hyatt, obviously. So Knoxville, I think we talked about it last week. It's a very attractive place for some of these legitimate NIL deals, not just these deals that you're giving a kid to come sign with your program, but those deals that are, hey, you play at a high level and it opens the door to even more money potentially for you.
Yeah, the transfers, you got to think a huge set of those guys outside of just playing time looking to get that money, as they should be. That's the nature of the college football world now with NIL. And I mean, they were looking to get money before, but you can talk about it now. It's above board. And Tennessee, obviously, I mean, we've seen it for the past year. One of the hottest spots for NIL. Really great NIL work being done with Spire and everybody involved over there. Now that they're working directly with the university and all that, everything that's going on there. So I think with all that combined, tons of playing time to present to players, NIL deals coming out of our ears. Surely Tennessee's an attractive spot for plenty of players. And man, I hope that they get like a Walter Nolan. If they could get a splash like that on defense, God, that would be huge. I would love for something like that to happen. Obviously, it literally opened up today. We're going to have to see. It's going to be a little bit of a waiting game, but we're definitely going to keep close tabs on it. Obviously, the first signing day is coming up in just a bit. And obviously, that's a whole other factor. Arian Carter was in town this past week, big recruit, who is, people think, is probably going to Alabama, but Tennessee was sort of making their final pitch. Wonder if they made any ground there. I honestly do not know. I assume it went well. They've done a great job all season hosting players, but I think there's a real shot here for Heupel to continue upping this roster now that he's put on paper how good his teams can be.